Argos go, go, go. Pull together, fight the foe, foe, foe. Scoring touchdowns for the blue on blue. The Argos will win for you. Full of fight and courage, you can't stop. They pile up the points until they reach the top. Pull together till the gray cups won. Go Argos, go, go, go. Go, Toronto Argos, go, go, go. Pull together, fight the foe, foe, foe. Scoring touchdowns for the blue on blue. The Argos will win for you. Full of fight and courage, you can't stop. They pile up the points until they reach the top. Pull together till the gray cups run. Go Argos, go Toronto, go. Go Argos, go, go, go.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Season 4, Episode 3 of the Argo Bounce Podcast Show, a weekly show devoted to the 19-time Grey Cup champion Toronto Argonauts with co-hosts Nick Small and Chris Pomay. I hope everyone's doing well on this, I can't believe it's already Thursday, June 26, 2025. 3 days before my birthday, which is on Sunday, June 29th, which happens to be the Argos' next game against Ottawa. We're going to bring on my co-host Nick Small, and Nick and I have a lot to talk about between the Argos Saskatchewan game, the football incident at BMO Field, which I'm going to get into, and we're going to preview the upcoming game between the Argos and the Ottawa Red Blacks this Sunday night at 7 o'clock in Ottawa, which Nick will be going as a fan and maybe do some media stuff there too as well. All right, we're going to bring on the co-host of the Argo Bounce Podcast show, Nick Small. Hey, how are you?
Chris. Doing great, thanks. Happy early birthday to you. And we have another birthday message out as well. We want to shout out the voice of the Toronto Argonauts, Mr. Adam Goss. Happy birthday to you as well. It's really nice that both you guys have a very close birthday. That's quite exciting.
Yes, it is. June's a very popular month for birthdays and stuff like that. And Adam does a great job as a PA announcer at BMO Field. And it's not easy being a PA announcer as well. And having a lot of them from hockey, football, baseball, and that, there's a lot of behind the scenes that the fans don't see. So to me, Adam represents the Toronto Argonauts as well as anybody.
Yeah, not only that, but it's not just that he's a PA announcer, but that he is a true dedicated fan of the Double Blue. So to have someone like that represent the fan base really well, he travels to many of the Argonauts road games. If you're ever in Hamilton or Ottawa or Montreal, you will often see him on the off days for him, tailgating and spending with the rest of us. So he's not just anyone, but he's a true dedicated fan of the Double Blue. So, Adam, happy birthday to you. Hope you've enjoyed your day so far. And yeah, let's get right into things.
Before I get into my rant, which is going to be a weekly new segment on here, Ken, who I met in person at the Saskatchewan game. Ken's watching us. Good evening, Chris and Nick. Here's to a good show. And Richard Chung. Hi, guys. My birthday is on Tuesday, which is July 1st is Canada Day. So happy birthday, Richard. See, all the good Argo fans' birthdays are in June and July.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Rich. We spoke today, of course, at the field. And yeah, see, this is a normal thing with me. I forgot to mention that. So happy birthday to you as well. See, I'm a February baby, so not only am I kind of on my own there, but I don't even get the Argos to play during my birthday. So you'll never see a happy birthday Nick message on the video board.
Nick, I want to get into a 2-minute rant here from the game against Saskatchewan. Basically, guys, I know a couple years ago the CFL went with a chipped ball for analytics and stuff like that. And at the game on on Friday night against Saskatchewan, I saw 3 fans who were not drunk or belligerent, and unfortunately, they got asked to leave and trespassed and taken out by the Toronto police. The CFL, I understand, wants their balls back because they've got them chipped and they're expensive. First of all, they need to go back to making announcements before the game or during the game with the public address announcer. If they're that concerned about the football going into the stands, I sit in section 115, right behind the goalpost, so a lot of the balls go in there. The fans are just so excited when they catch a football on that, and to have security immediately come and the police take it, it's not a good look for the league. I'm not blaming the Toronto Argonauts for this, but you drew 12,000 fans at BMO Field against Saskatchewan. Obviously, the Blue Jays were playing concert. There must have been about 3,000 Saskatchewan fans, but these guys were not drunk or anything at all. And here's some solutions for the CFL. First of all, make sure you advertise it with the public address announcer during the game or before the game. Put up a temporary net where section 115 is at BMO Field. However, the football, I can't speak for the other teams except what they bring it back. Put up a temporary net that solves the problem, or offer the fan or fans a T-shirt or a small Toronto Argonaut football that says "I caught my first ball at BMO Field," just as a good PR gesture. We need to be making it a fun experience, and I understand security, and I was a security guard for 23 and a half years, and the police have a job to do, but to have the police come over a bloody football is just not a good look for the CFL. And if anyone out there is listening from the CFL, it's not a criticism of the league. I understand about the chip of the football, but we need to make the fans want to come back to games. These guys that got asked to leave, they're not going to tell their friends come to an Argos game now. They're going to basically, it's not a good public relations move. So either put up a temporary netting at BMO Field in that section where 115, 116 are, or give the fans a T-shirt or some kind of little football. And I don't know. To me, we need to be building this fan base, not setting it back. And Nick, that was my 2-minute rant. I just want to get your thoughts on it too. And I don't expect you to agree with me 100% on this.
Yeah, well, I know in the past we've had a segment, we can almost call it the recurring agree to disagree segment. A lot of times on this show, as you've seen, that we've had different views on things. But actually, now in this specific case, initially I was leaning to the other side of the argument, but as I've spent more time thinking about and reflecting, you've brought up some really good points. The thing that I think is the integral part of this whole discussion is that we're talking about the diehard, super passionate fans, the obsessed guys who sit in that section versus the casual fan who sits in that section as well because it's an inexpensive ticket. They're the cheapest tickets in the stadium. What it causes is it causes this clash, and I've seen it myself. I experienced, well, I witnessed it during the opener against Calgary with a couple of my friends who sit in that section. I got into it with other more casual fans. There's that one section in particular has this bit of a problem between those two groups of people. And I think what's happening could be a reason for some of the attendance issues is that the diehards, they know the expectations. The football's got to get returned. It's like basketball or soccer. It's not like hockey or baseball where you can keep the ball. But the casual fan doesn't know this. And when it leads to confrontation, to arguments, to security or police, we see it here. It causes a negative experience, negative feedback, and it sends the message to fans that I don't want to go to another Argos game because I'm going to get the same shoddy treatment if that happens again. Now, there are good points why they can't do that. Like you mentioned, it's probably around a $350 football with the chip installed. And the fact that this is a thing a lot of people don't know, those balls are not, especially the ones that are kicked from the kickers, they're not like brand new out of the box for a game. Often those footballs have hundreds, thousands of kicks put into them because they try to wear the ball down so that it's consistent and comfortable for the center, the holder, the kicker all the time. So when those things come into factors, yeah, you do have to give that ball back up. But I do like your idea. I think there's a very interesting case that could be made where rather than going punitive and being you're trespassing, you're evicted, go for a more coercive measure, provide some sort of trade-off instead. And I know we can dwell on dollar figures. We've brought it up in the past, but something like that might be a better resolution to turn it into a positive experience for a fan rather than having it as a negative. So long story short, I do agree with a lot of your points that there are ways we can make the fan experience better, specifically for the uninformed new casual fan and not the hardcore fans that's in that section.
Fans will come back no matter what and probably comply. The casual fan, you're trying to get them to win. The guy who caught the football, he was just so happy, Nick. He was so happy. He wasn't a drunk or anything like that. And it's just it was just great seeing him catch the football. And I just think I'm hoping the league will address this with either a temporary netting or okay, we'll give the fan a shirt or a small little football saying he caught a football with the Toronto Argonauts.
The other thing I will add that probably didn't, it ended up making the problem worse in Toronto was that before the balls were chipped, Toronto used to be the only team in which they would just let you keep the footballs. And I was hearing it from some individuals where they kickers that have talked about it and again to that point about the balls being worn out as a consequence, but kind of just letting it ride. But because they were letting fans keep it in the past, it kind of made the problem worse now, where now you're telling them, hey, you can't keep the footballs now. But yeah, I think there definitely needs to be a bit of education. Like, yeah, you need to give the ball back, but at the same time, yeah, if they could make it something positive or make a very unique gift out of it, where there's no season ticket holder entitlement. There's no section entitlement. It's very specific to that section. Hey, if you catch a football, you get this really cool thing that says like, yeah, I caught a football. That's a really innovative idea. I think that could create a positive outcome.
That's what I've been trying to tell other guys and stuff like that. And if the league and the Argos don't want to do that, which is their right, then put up a temporary netting for every extra point or field goal, and that solves the issue. And we want the fans, as media, as a season ticket holder, Nick, and I can speak for you too. You want the fans to come and have a good time there. You don't want to come there and see police officers escorting people out left, right, and center for a bloody football. So let's hope the CFL in general and the Toronto Argonauts, they can resolve this going forward, because we need people to come to the games instead of being escorted out of the games over this. And Nick, and I just wanted to bring this up tonight, and I appreciate you make good points too, Nick, and hopefully going forward, hopefully for the July 4th game, they'll either have a temporary netting up or they'll do something for the fan who catches a football, because we need the fans. You need your season ticket diehard people like yourself and myself, but you also need the casual fans to come too. And if sometimes casual fans have a good experience, that can lead them to wanting to get a season ticket in the future too.
Yep, exactly.
We got a comment here too. Ken's got a comment. Ashley, can you build excitement by announcing that you are lucky enough to catch a football? You will be rewarded with the cool gifts that the fans will be envious of.
Yeah, see, exactly. You do something specific to the requirement of catching a football, and then suddenly it's something that every fan wants to have the experience of, and it might draw more attention into that end zone section.
Absolutely. And I didn't want to spend the whole show on this. I just wanted to get my 2 minutes out. Got your 2 cents. And Ken, I always appreciate Ken for his support of our show and putting in his comments as well, because we want the focus to be on a good fan experience. Obviously, we want the team to win, but we need to get more fans out, and hopefully the league will listen to some of my ideas, whether it's a temporary netting or a small unique gift for someone who catches a football, because I think that's cool that if you catch a football or whatever. And yeah, we and by the way, security police, they're doing their jobs too, but it's just tying up the police over a football. That's something that has to hopefully go away in the future. So anyone from the CFL watching this isn't a knock on the league, but it's just kind of some tips and advice from season ticket holders who see this. And in section 115, every time an extra point or field goal goes in, it does end up in section 115. So temporary netting or some kind of small unique gift. Okay, Nick, let's get to some positive stories. Before we get to the Argo Saskatchewan game, I wanted to bring this up too, because I know how much Pinball Clements means to the Toronto Argonauts in the Canadian Football League and the city of Toronto. Thoughts on Diana and Mike Pinball Clements being awarded the Order of Canada for all their work in the community?
Yeah, I heard about that. I wasn't sure 100%. I didn't see the official news release whether it was an Order of Merit or the actual Order of Canada itself. So I just want to clarify that point real quick. But I saw Pinball. I met him today at practice, and that was one of the things that we brought up and discussed. And I told Pinball straight up that you are the example of American by birth, Canadian by choice. Pinball, through his career with the CFL, he's given so much to this organization and this league, and he's embraced everyone he's met, and of course his wife as well. She's done a lot of philanthropy work. The two of them together, the Pinball Clements Foundation has raised thousands of dollars and have put towards making people's lives better. And I think that that amount of generosity and the genuine nature of both of them as people, I've said it many times, we're so lucky as Argonaut fans that, like, what other team would the general manager come to practice, come shake your hand, come and thank you for being there? They're phenomenal human beings, and they're absolutely well deserved. I actually said to him it was about time, because he probably should have gotten it 5 or 10 years ago.
I suggested this years ago, and I hope Maple Leaf Sports Entertainment is listening, but I know BMO Field was made for the Toronto FC, but for the Toronto Argonauts, who have such a longer history than the FC, and no disrespect to the FC, Mike Pinball Clements deserves a statue. As far as I'm concerned, one day I'd like to see a statue of Pinball Clements at BMO Field.
Yeah, we'll see. It would be definitely a nice thing. Yeah, whether or not it'll happen, I don't know. It seems the statues are reserved for the Toronto Maple Leafs only, and even then, they only started doing that less than a decade ago with Shanahan taking the head role at the Leafs organization. So, yeah, is there possibility? Maybe. I hope so one day. But for now, I mean, he's one of only 4 individuals to have his number retired by a 150-year-old team. So that's a pretty significant honor in itself.
So I'm hoping one day there is a statue of him. It's just the right thing to do. And with him, with the organization, I'm not too concerned. I know they're going to turn around. And Nick, let's get to it. Overall assessment of the Argos, 39-32 loss to Saskatchewan. And they scored enough points to win this game, and they tied it up at 32 at the end of the game. But Argo killer, I'm going to say this, Argo killer, Mario Alford did them in again with a 99-yard kickoff return. Obviously, the Argos were one short of players on there, and then there was a block in the back that was missed by the referees, but unfortunately they can't review a missed block in the back call. But I just wanted to get your thoughts. It was a tough loss, especially when the Argos fought back to tie that game up at the end of the game.
Well, you brought up a good point that the Argos put up 32 2 points of offense. I had some people in my section that were oblivious to that. They still wanted Tucker Horn in at quarterback instead of Arbuckle. It's literally the McLeod, Bethel Thompson, Chad Kelly season all over again. All the backups better because he's the backup. But really, this game wasn't lost because you let Marl Alford return the kickoff for the touchdown with 22 seconds left and
Too many
only 11
penalties.
guys in the field. You gave up almost 200 yards, nearly 2 football fields in penalties. If this wasn't right now, like in this current era of football, what I would do if I was head coach, I would be doing wind sprints where you're doing after every game, the first practice after, you're doing wind sprints for the amount of penalties you give up. You run the length of the football field and back twice, and you will. I can guarantee you, this is something someone like Lou Heyman would have done. You would do that, and you would give up less than 100 yards in penalties the next week. The fact that it went that chippy between that and then giving up a ton of second and long situations, like they seem to be doing a lot this season, it's just absolutely fatal to have any chance to win. And really, we should be talking about a Toronto Argos team that's at least 1-2, and I could argue push even for 2-1, not a team that's 0-3 right now. But it's those things that are really setting them back right now at this point of the season.
And obviously, Arbuckle threw another pick in that game, but too many mistakes. Saskatchewan, they had 18 penalties for 170. I think 18 penalties. I'm not sure how many yards, but between the both of these teams, 29 penalties for approximately 300 yards. The discipline has to be fixed. The penalties have to be corrected. Also, the run defense too. Saskatchewan gashed them running the ball, and AJ had a pretty good game in a 45-yard touchdown run. The Argos again got behind in this game, and they couldn't really establish the running game, and the penalties had something to do with it, but falling behind too. And the thing, Nick, the Argos started out with the ball, and they had probably their most impressive touchdown drive of the year, going up 7-0 against Saskatchewan. And then the Rough Riders basically for the next 2.5 quarters took control of this game.
Yeah, as you said, that was one of the things we talked about last week before the game, was that they needed to get some offense going early in the game, and they did. But yeah, you can definitely see that missing guys like Winnie McManus, the injuries to the defensive line, Derek Parrish going down, Kenneth George Jr., like those started to stack up as the running game from Saskatchewan really started to take effect against Toronto. And I think that's why they brought in that one large nose tackle from Edmonton, that they're trying to build a little bit more run game to try to fill in the gaps, because that's where they were hitting. So that's what I think they're trying to lean to try to get a little bit more run game pressure, because I think you're going to see that a lot with Justin Crum in at Ottawa as well, because they ran the ball a lot with Daniel Adebayo last week in the 7-degree weather against Calgary, and I think they're going to try to ride on that momentum. Crum's another kind of style quarterback who is probably looking to the run first, then the pass, similar to someone like Streveler. So they're going to have to be able to control that run game, which they weren't able to last week.
Nick, did you hear why Kadeem Carey did not dress in this game? Was he hurt? Is that why he did not dress in this game?
No clue why. It was a coaching decision to not dress him. While we're on the topic of running backs, one thing I will note. So, if you rewatch the game, you might have noticed that Mayan Williams did not play a lot in the second half. You had Brown doing a lot of the running in the second half of that game. Mayan Williams was taking first string running back reps during practice this week. Mac Mahon was still on the sidelines. He was in full gear, but he was limited in practice. So based on that, I kind of make the judgment that Williams, whatever it was, if there even was anything, he's fine and is expected to start. I don't know if that was a coaching decision or there was something nagging Williams. I have no idea.
By the way, Daniel Aboye's father is watching. Ty is watching. Thank you, Ty, for watching. And I expect the Argos to get a heavy dose of Daniel Aboye on Sunday as well.
Absolutely. I've said it before, and as if you look through books like Teal's Argo Bounce, you see him talk about individuals who have left Toronto to have better careers elsewhere. Um, and I will say I will never knock a player who's moved on from Toronto to make more money. Like it's a business thing, and I always wish him nothing but the best. That being said, man, Dan Attaboy had a fantastic game, and now I'm a little worried about what he's going to do this week against Toronto because I think regardless of the circumstances, I think you always want to impress against your former team, whether it's actually like vengeful or just, hey, I want to show these guys that they made the wrong decision to let me go or to trade me or whatever. So you can expect that Dan's going to be fired up for this game.
And Robbie Schneider, who you were on
Hey, Robbie.
his show this Sunday, says, hello, Chris and Nick, go Argos on Sunday night. I might be tuning in for this game in the States, which will be on CBS Sports Network and TSN 1050. And the best part is the Argos Ottawa games on Sunday night at 7 o'clock. And then my Detroit Tigers take on the Minnesota Twins that night. So my birthday, I'm going to have cake, ice cream, and watch the Tigers and Argos play at the same time.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. It is the Canada Day game, so I got my lovely Toronto Argonauts Canada Day themed hat. This was one of my favorite promotions that they did 2 years ago, where they had one of these Canada Day hats for all 9 teams in the league. You can tell it's a little bit older because the boat logo is not there; it's the Shield one. Really awesome initiative. Got a selfie there today with Queen's Park. They got a nice big Canadian flag draped down there. So I'm really excited. It's always a really fun week to be in Ottawa for Canada Day. I won't be sticking around for the fireworks show afterwards, but it should be a draw to have a lot of fans come out, especially like Canada Day in football. What more could you want?
You were on Robbie's show the other night. He was wearing an Argos hat. Did you send him that Argos hat?
Yeah, when they did those giveaway hats, I sent one to our friend Robbie. So I had an extra one there that I didn't need. I've got a stack up in the corner of my shelf with probably around 30 Argos hats, give or take. So got a pretty substantial collection. So I felt I could part with one and give them to Robbie. Yes, Dr. Ty, I'm going to be in Ottawa, so we will see you there. We'll get in touch because we'll find whether it's tailgating or whatever. We'll meet up and we'll chat. I'm really looking forward to seeing you guys as well. I'm really looking forward to that because if you've never met the Attaboy family, they're some of the nicest people around and are truly passionate CFL fans. So if you ever get to meet them, whether it's in Ottawa or in Toronto or elsewhere, you got to go meet the Attaboys because they're a fantastic football family.
What happened on that game-winning touchdown with Alfred? The TV guys I watched said, don't kick it to him, and they did. And also, it's not a criticism of the coaching staff, but how do you go out there and have one less guy on there as well? As for the block in the back, unfortunately, you can't review it. Not much you can do about it, but I don't know. What's your thoughts on that last play?
Yeah, well, I actually like the execution of it. Like they kicked it exactly where you should. You didn't, maybe like we can debate whether you want to kick directly to Mario Alford versus on the other side of the field, but I think the intention was to kick it deep into the corner, which is something you accomplished. He has to field it. He can't risk letting it bounce because if it bounces to the in the ends or bounces in the end zone, you get the rouge. So now you're winning the game. If you kick it and it rolls out of bounds, then they get it at, I think it's the 45. So they get really good field position. And we saw last year with Edmonton, you can't afford to do that. You can't kick a squib because that's what could happen. So you kind of have to kick it deep. And I mean, with regards to only having 11 guys, I mentioned the injuries before. Jack Cassar being out, he's as important to special teams as Wyndham McManus is to defense and Chad Kelly is to the offense. You've lost your best player in all of each of the 3 phases of the game, that is a significant detriment and something hard to overcome in the middle of a game. But then other injuries piled up. I don't know. I'd have to really take a photo and see who lines up on offense, but probably George Jr. was maybe one of the guys who was supposed to be out there, or maybe Parrish on the inside. I don't know, but when things like that in game roll around, that's where problems can arise, and that's why it's so crucial at any level of football, whether it's at junior level playing with 10-year-olds or playing in the professionals. You have to have the physical and mental endurance to be focused in these fourth quarter moments. And I think what really made it worse, that not many people have talked about, the Argos had a timeout left. So it's telling me that somebody didn't even think of counting to make sure that there were indeed 12 players on the field. So that's the kind of way I see it. And then, yeah, like you said, like the way they set up the return, the way the illegal block, like that, you don't really have a control over. I would like to think, at least if they had that extra guy and someone would have been there to break down to make a tackle at some point. I don't think they would have gotten burned in that case, but it is what it is. It's happened. The game's over and you got to move on.
I know injuries are a part of it too, Nick, but Dimwitty in his press conference said, yeah, our special teams have been horrible. And he also talked about the coaches too. Basically, he singled out everybody, the coaches, the players, everybody has to step up. And this is the first time in Dimwitty's tenure in Toronto that the Argonauts have started 0-3. And this team is going to be facing some adversity, and hopefully they can play better on Sunday against Ottawa. But I want to, Haggerty I thought was good, and Mr. Reliable, number 70, Liam, nice 56-yard kick at halftime. And that kick was huge. I know, Nick, it was only 3 points, but if he misses that field goal, Mario Alford could very easily return that kick, that field goal attempt, into a touchdown. So that was a huge play for the Argos too. And
yeah,
he is Mr. Reliable. He always comes through for the Argos when they need him.
Yeah, congratulations to Liam. It wasn't on that kick, but yeah, the kick afterwards was his 300th successful field goal in the CFL. So hats off to him. Yeah, the consistency of Liam Harlow is one of the positives. One other thing I will stress is that field goal was made right before halftime, and that always gives you a little bit of positive energy. It's something that you can build off of, whether you're down or up. The fact that you're able to, and they came off a pretty awkward situation there before, so to be able to get the ball back, to get those points, it built some positive momentum on the offense there, so that they were able to get something going into the second half. In terms of Ryan Dinwiddie and the postgame conference, yeah, the things I'm actually quite okay with what his comments he made. Now, of course, whether or not it was going to actually translate into the literal, well, it's never going to translate literally into heads rolling, but in the sense of somebody losing their job over it, as we know now, that's not the case. And I don't think it was right to really think that they were going to clean house anyway this soon. But the thing you have to remember is that this is a team that Ryan Dinwiddie, Coach Dinwiddie, is a championship winning coach 2 times, 16-2 record in the regular season. Like this is a top team. Like this, we're built to compete for a Grey Cup each and every year. That's the expectation. So to come 0-3, like I said earlier, that this team could have been 1-2 or 2-1 right now, and instead of being 0-3, it's showing that everybody needs to push it to that little extent. And I think for Dinwiddie to call everybody out on in the broadcast and the post game on that's going to give everybody that little bit of extra motivation. And I think he's right in doing that. I know there's controversies over whether or not that's the right thing to do. To what extent do you call out specific individuals? I know there was the comment on the 280-pound lineman. I was asked about that just before our show, and I said, they're all 280 pounds as far as I can tell. They could all snap my arm like a twig if they wanted to. So you don't take it personally. You have a job to do, and your job is to compete and to win football games. So that's what they need to do, and they need to find a way to get it into that next gear level this week against Ottawa. I'll reflect back to you in a moment, but the topics come up whether or not it's a must-win game, and it is an important game because if they don't win this game, you're now down 2 games to Ottawa with an 0-4 start, and that's 1 game now you've lost. So it's really starting to stack up and snowball. Where Winnipeg was in an 0-4 hole and dugout. But how deep can you go before you dig yourself out? Hamilton won almost every game after Labor Day before when they had lost almost every game before Labor Day, and they missed the playoffs. So you can't just wait till Labor Day. You have to get some wins going soon.
It's no longer preseason. It's no longer the start of the season. We're going into July. By the way,
no more excuses.
Nope. And we have a viewer on from St. Louis, Missouri, watching our show on Instagram Live. George Brown, who I did an interview a couple weeks ago, came all the way from his home outside of St. Louis, Missouri, drove, I think, 15 and a half hours, and was at the Argos home opener against BMO Field. Loves the Argonauts. He's a huge Curly Gittins Jr. fan, and George is hoping to go to the Grey Cup this year in Winnipeg, and hoping to come back to another game at BMO Field. So George is watching us on Instagram Live. George, if you have a question for Nick and I, please send me a comment, and we'll do our best to answer your question. Taya Boye, great show, great analyst, guys. And then Rick from the Tiger Cats Stockwood Hour. Evening, gentlemen. And then Rick again, another comment. I'm trying to keep up with him. Nothing wrong with the second half plan. Nick always works.
I mean, what's really weird with this game was that offensively they looked really good. They put up 32 points. It's just, I think defensively they just made too many mistakes. Like on top of the penalties, giving away free yards is never good. When I look at just the offense-defense play, I think our secondary is struggling with the deep ball right now. That's what makes it really weird with how this Ottawa game might go, because Crum, he's not Drew Brown. He's not like one of the better passing quarterbacks in the league. At least last season he wasn't. But in that game that they were able to beat Calgary, I know the conditions were a factor, but they ran the ball really well. And that's been kind of between the deep ball and the running game. Toronto's been a bit of a step down in this week. But then the 2 weeks prior, they were, I thought, excellent defensively. Yeah, it's just trying to find that little bit of extra motivation to not give up those second and long plays. I think what's really what they're going to have to key in on. It's like that they kind of failed on in the second half of that Saskatchewan game.
George Brown has a question for both of us. He wants to know, when Chad Kelly does return, do you think Chad Kelly can turn this team around just by himself? I don't think he can. I think he can help the offense, obviously, but he can't play defense. So I do think it will be a lift for the Argos when he does come back. George, as of now, Nick, do you think there's any chance Kelly could play Sunday against Ottawa from what you saw today at practice?
So Chad Kelly was not in practice today, and this is the last day before the team travels. So I'm 99% convinced that he will not play. Why he wasn't there, I don't know. I don't waste time asking people that, bugging them about things like that. It's none of my business. So whether or not it's a setback or if he just, because of the weather and stuff, took the day off, I don't know. But he wasn't at practice. Arbuckle's taking first string reps again, so guarantee you he'll be the starting quarterback for this weekend's game in Ottawa. What was the other thing I was going to talk about? I can't remember.
George put another comment out on Instagram Live. He goes, I agree with you guys. The defense needs to step it up. And by the way, Nick, and 3 games, Nick, I know the Argos defense has, I think, 6 or 7 sacks, which is not bad, but they've only had 1 takeaway in 3 games, and that was the Blackburn interception, which led to a touchdown. And that's what the Argos need right now from their defense, if they can get some kind of turnovers and capitalize on it, because those are extra points that you need. And hopefully they can get some interceptions or some fumble recoveries. It would be nice to get a fumble recovery this week.
Yeah, so to your points, yeah, that's a good point. I will give a shout out to Chatfield Jr. If you get a chance, take a look at Mike Hogan's article that he recently wrote about him, because all this talk, we lost Resno, we lost Brinkman, Flo, Robbie Smith. Chatfield Jr. might be the best pickup that they've done so far, like this offseason. Like we like to dwell on who's gone, but when you're talking
Yeah,
about guys they've acquired, Andrew Chatfield Jr. has been fantastic so far in the sack department, and I think he's actually probably doing arguably better than Robbie Smith and Flo right now. Um, but so kudos to that. You're absolutely right. The turnovers that we saw from the defense in years past hasn't been there. And when you look at this game again, talking about what might have been, man, Cam Judge let 2 interceptions fall through his hands, which is too bad. The other point I was going to go back on though, so guys mentioned Chad Kelly and about turning the franchise around potentially. Okay, so here's the thing. Chad Kelly is, when he's healthy, is the best quarterback in the league, and I think the numbers stack up to prove it. The 16-2 record, but the thing with it though is that when we saw in seasons past, the Argos will put up more points, but there's a lot of quick, explosive touchdowns. We saw how many times do we see him throw 70 yards with Yak to Mackay Polk down the field from like their own 20 or 30-yard line. Those kind of plays are good. Like you're putting 6 points up on the board. You can't complain about that. But it is going to draw the defense out. Whereas if you have a little bit more methodical drives, you're able to march down the field and eat up the clock, especially in the early phase of games. It'll benefit you in the later part when everybody's on the defense is tired. That's what I think could be the trade-off for it. So they need to find more of these sustained long-term drives, because in terms of like looking at the raw stats by themselves, what's really hurt them is that the defense has been on the field for well more than half the games, which is really detrimental to their play.
Ty just says actually they'll have a walkthrough tomorrow and travel on Saturday. I also wanted to mention this to you, Nick, and to everyone watching this live stream on the audio. I thought one of the Argo players who really stepped up in this game, and it was nice to see them feed him the ball, was wide receiver Kevin Mattel. Thoughts on Mattel's performance?
Yeah, it's the Kevin Mattal. I think we were expecting over the evolution of his career in his first year in Toronto last season, the way we saw him perform in the Grey Cup, he proves he has this ability. I think he could be a very similar back to Mackay Polk, maybe a bit slower, but a stronger wide receiver. The guy who the Argos ended up choosing Mattal over, he was chosen in. The other guy was chosen in Ottawa, and I think Kevin Mattal, he's the most ready to go guy that of that draft class, and we're starting to see the fruits of it pay off now that he's gotten a year of experience under his belt. He's proven he's a very capable slot back.
What's the status of Devarius Daniels? Do you expect him to play Sunday against Ottawa?
Yeah, so Devarius Daniels was full in practice today, and I can also say we talked about special teams issues earlier and how do we fix it. Well, I am very happy to say that Janarian Grant was full in practice today. He did some passing, catching, scrimmage, and he returned a couple kicks. So I got to think he's 100% ready to go. So we won't know 100% until the depth chart's released on Saturday, but if he's back, that's going to instantly bump the return game up that little bit that we've been missing these last few weeks.
Just to get off the record for about a minute, Nick, the Argo social media team always does a good job on social media, and they did a little clip this week of the Argos and they're getting their last names wrong, and I'm guilty of it too. When I was media last, I interviewed Dylan Giffen, the offensive lineman, and I mistakenly called him Griffin. And during the social media clip, Dylan went, "My name is Giffen, not Griffin." And I was like, that was on me. That was on me because I made that mistake. But I really liked their social media team. And I thought that was a great little piece they did on Instagram and stuff like that. By the way, George Brown's got a couple more comments. Argos tend to play better as the underdog. The last 3 Grey Cups are living proof of that. And
Good points.
he agrees that the defense needs to step it up as well, but they also their secondary. I still have major concerns with their secondary going forward. Nick, what's your thoughts on the secondary?
Yeah, you're not wrong. I'm hoping that they'll do a little bit better this week against the deep ball. Yeah, it's funny because um, when looking at the secondary specifically, I think that's the position where you probably want most of your import players. And yeah, I think we've seen some positives out of it. Like I think Silka's been great, but I am a little bit worried about the field side, especially with the injury there to Kenneth George Jr. But I believe Donald Rutledge. I hope I'm not mixing names up. Is back from his injury, so it kind of fills that spot. It's not like they're now going to have to find a new Sam linebacker, but I think they're starting to miss guys like Royce Metier, Deshaun Amos, Robert Priester. And don't forget that this is a new secondary coach that they've got. So there is some new learning, some new things that are a little different. So hope like there were times last season as well where we were critical on the secondary play, and they were able to fine tune it. So I think the thing I find is I think there just needs to be a little bit more um, awareness in ball positioning, because I think sometimes it's really easy to just watch the receiver's eyes, to look the back, like your back turned and you're sticking your hands up, more just kind of blocking their vision. I think they could, where I think Toronto has been more successful in the past is more actively looking for when the ball's coming in by watching it, because as a DB you have just as every right for the football as the wide receiver. So and yeah, it's one thing if you're burned on a play and you're behind and you've got to make something up, but I think that's where they've excelled in the past. If they kind of look more towards the ball and be more active in trying to knock it down rather than being reactive, I think that might help. But again, I'm just an armchair coach. I'm not there on the field. I don't tell the guys how to do their job.
And you got to catch those balls too when you have a chance for interceptions. So hopefully this week they'll be able to catch a couple of them, because interceptions can really make a difference in a football game. And I think the Argos need to get a big play from their defense and special teams. Having Grant back on and kickoff returns is huge, because Nick, and everyone knows that he's capable of taking it to the house every time he gets the ball, and that can make a huge impact. And hopefully the defense can make a big play too as well. Rick from the Tiger Cats Talk Network says, "Sorry, Nick, I'll be there Sunday. Hopefully it doesn't bring you any bad luck." Why is a Tiger Cat fan going to an Argos game in Ottawa? That's what makes the CFL unique, because the NFL, do you think an Eagles fan like myself would go to a Dallas Cowboys game against the New York Giants?
Yeah, the CFL is an amazing community for that, and that's I think what's so fun about being more involved in the fan base. You meet some amazing individuals. I believe Rick and Connor Sauve are putting up a bet right now for the donating money to CFL Fans Fight Cancer. There's lots of good ways you can enjoy the fan base and become friends with other fans of the league. That's what's so great about CFL football, and it, through all my experiences traveling to Montreal, to Ottawa, out west, you can make a lot of friends, and it's a lot of fun. Then when you go to the Grey Cup Festival, tailgate parties and stuff, it's not just the one night at the Grey Cup where you're making friends. You've got friends in 8 stadiums now that you can go and visit. So yeah, growing the game.
Is the upcoming road game at Ottawa a must win?
Yeah, well, I talked about it. I wouldn't say it's must win. If they lose, Hamilton is an absolute must win. That's how I look at it. But yeah, if you lose this game in Ottawa, you're in trouble, because, like I said, you're down one head to head. They're 2-0. You're 0-2. And Hamilton has a game in hand on you because they've had a bye week already. You have not. So then you're really in a difficult situation where you're now probably trying to compete to stay ahead of Hamilton, and you're probably trying to stay ahead of, as it stands right now, Edmonton and BC for the crossover. And yeah, that's like just to barely squeeze in. Your focus needs to still be win the division, because as good as Montreal has looked, they're going to slow down at some point. We saw that last year. I guarantee you we're going to see it this year at some point. It's not going to be this week, though, because McLeod Bethel Thompson is an amazing quarterback, despite what everybody in Toronto said 2 years ago. So I still have money on Montreal this week.
This to me is a must win for Hamilton. If Hamilton loses another home game and drops to 0-3 with the Grey Cup expectations in that city, the panic button is going to start hitting hard. 0-2, not really, but 0-3 with this expectations, I think you're going to start seeing some fans start hitting the panic buttons. And Hamilton.
Every year the expectation is a Grey Cup there. It's like the Leafs in hockey. Every year and we're still waiting on year, was it 31 now? Since their last, or sorry, 26.
Sorry,
yeah, 26 for the 26. Yeah, the Argos were 31. I've been doing a lot of reading on the Argos drought period, so that the numbers are getting mixed up in my head. So see, if you guys think you have it bad right now, try imagine waiting another 6 years, and then that's our problem. So yeah. So yeah, I don't know if necessarily it's must win yet, but it's getting there. I think we kind of talked about at the beginning of the year.
And for people who are watching this show that are Argo historians, the Toronto Argonauts have never won a Grey Cup with the year ending with the number 5.
Yeah, so hopefully that curse will be alleviated this season. But at the moment, it's not looking great. But then again, like, you still want to get some positive momentum going. But yeah, they need to be better and step their game up. And Ottawa's a good opportunity for it, because I think this is a team that you, on paper, should be able to go out and have a competitive game with.
And Rick from the Tiger Cats Network says, hopefully, Nick, the defense gets better. 18 games last year, the Argos defense gave up 30 plus points, but the offense had to score 30 points per game. But hey, Rick, I'd be concerned about the Tiger Cats defense too. And it's going to be a tough game for them tomorrow night against the Alouettes, even without Davis Alexander. McLeod Bethel Thompson, I think, still has something left in the gas tank. So to me, this is a big game for the Cats too. It's a divisional rival, and Montreal is off to a good start, so it's going to be interesting to see how the Cats do. But I have a lot of concerns about the Tiger Cats defense this year too. And then Rick's made another comment. He's only going to 22 games this year. Plus, I'm going with Connor. That's it. 22 games. 22 games. Come on. You call yourself a CFL fan? You should be going to every single game, Rick.
Yeah, well, I will give credit to Winnipeg's social media team. So back in the offseason, when the schedule was released, they showed how their opening road game was in BC, and they did a Google Map thing that showed like how the time it took to walk from Winnipeg to Vancouver, and it was something stupid. Like it was something like 287 days or something, and they had marked avoid Regina on the route to go there. But and then this week now with Edmonton, they are selling elk burgers at some of the concession stands, which I think is a really fun little playful thing. I do not want to know what they're going to try to serve when the Ticats or the Stampeders are in town. If it's the Argos, you get a block of wood to chew on. I don't know.
By the way, the three biggest disappointments in the CFL so far, and I know the season's young, obviously the Argos won, Hamilton 2, and the Edmonton Elks 3. And the Elks hopefully can get a win. And I believe the Thursday night game tonight is what? Edmonton and Winnipeg at 8:30 tonight. So
in Winnipeg,
it's going to be a tough one for the Elks. But George Brown, who's watching us from the St. Louis area, he's watching us on IG Live. Couple more comments from George. I used to go to Fenway Park to troll the Red Sox fans. Maybe that's what Rick's doing with the Argo fans in Ottawa, to troll the Argo fans in Ottawa. And then he goes, I made a lifelong friend in Saskatchewan. He calls me his second son. And that's what you see in the CFL that you don't see in the corporate NFL.
Yeah, I mean, as I mentioned before, the camaraderie in the CFL is great. We accept it in as one of our own. You doesn't matter as long as you enjoy CFL football. You've always got a welcome place here, whether it be in Toronto, Hamilton, Saskatchewan. It doesn't matter. Um, 10 of 18 games last year. Yeah, so yeah, and as for me, I'm happy to say I've been to every Argonauts game, both home and away, so far this year. Um, I don't know once kind of the Western road trip starts. I don't know if I'll be able to get to Saskatchewan and Calgary and Winnipeg before the Grey Cup. Might be able to do BC, so that's where it kind of might get challenging. But yeah, within if you're any of the Eastern teams, they're all within range to travel within one another. So I highly encourage doing it if you get the opportunity. It's a lot of fun.
As we wrap up this show, Nick, what are some keys to an Argo win over Ottawa on Sunday night? And Ottawa's coming off a big win at Calgary.
Yeah, I think you can't underestimate the Ottawa offense. I know they didn't have a great week offensively last week. And I mean, Dustin Crum didn't really throw the ball much at all, but the conditions weren't really favorable to that. So, and you know, I know Rick would be one to tell us about how much he despises Tommy Condell's offense when it was in Hamilton, but it last season it proved effective. Like they I think he was still coordinator last season. I might be wrong, but they did some things right, specifically against Toronto. So I am a little worried that they might be able to take advantage of that. I do expect a lot more passing from Ottawa. They can't expect to rush the ball as much as they did. I think Arbuckle, they're going to have to attack their defense with the passing game. I think that's going to be the most important thing. I think for them to win this week.
I think this is going to be a tough game. I think it's going to be a 23-20 score. And I think a turnover is going to make a difference in this game. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think it might be a little bit higher scoring. I'm leaning into the 30, something like, 33-30, something along that line.
Nick, overall thoughts on Arbuckle's play? Did you find that might have been his best game of the year against Saskatchewan?
Yeah, it's been his best game of the season thus far. He does play well against Saskatchewan. He played well against them last year as well. So I don't know. I don't know what it is with the Rough Riders specifically, but Arbuckle seems to play well against them in particular. Yeah, I think I'm more frustrated again with the way some of the fans, like anytime there's any stall in the offensive drive, like they did a screen pass that ended up leading to a third down, and they're calling for Arbuckle to get replaced. And I'm thinking, like, what the hell is he going to do? He can't just throw the ball 70 yards down the field to someone who's in triple coverage. Like, and that's what I think cost him in the second game, and he avoided that mistakes. And the one turnover that he did throw, I wasn't too bothered by it because it was kind of like an arm punt, and it pinned Saskatchewan deep because I think they were at their 3 yard line or something. So, you can, if you try to look at it kind of like that, there's at least some positive you can take out. But yeah, I think he gets a little bit too unfair criticism. I mean, don't get me wrong, like there's times where you see it, and I said it, like he just doesn't have that same raw arm strength as Chad Kelly, but nobody in the league really does. So it's hard to compare with that, and I think it's just kind of like curling, knowing where to miss. I think Arbuckle's just on those deep throws has to know when overthrowing it and having that incomplete and kind of where the receivers like just barely outstretched to get it is maybe better than having it fall short and getting intercepted. And hey, you talk about quarterbacks and criticize them. That's one thing McLeod Bethel Thompson did all the time. How many times did he overthrow receivers? Yeah, it wasn't great, but it was better than an interception. So you can think of it like that.
And he has built chemistry with David Ungerer and Kevin Mattel, which was nice to see. And I would like to see a little more production out of Coxie. I know he had a couple of nice catches, but he also had a couple of drops. So I expect Coxie to step up his game Sunday against Ottawa.
Well, I was getting, yeah, and I mean, I was getting a little worried after the first two games, actually. I think it was actually better that he didn't get as many targets because I think when you throw to one guy all the time, you become targeted. And we started to see that with the deep passes to Coxie. Like, how many times already have we seen it this year where he's being thrown into double coverage because everybody knows to put two guys on him. So, getting Kevin Mittal going would be like they did last week is extremely beneficial. They should be able to get a little bit more of a running game going with Mayan Williams. I think you still got to try to get some tough running yards to get that going because it just makes the play action that much easier. And then the other thing is that the pass protection just needs to get better. I don't know what happened between this year and last year, but it's been tough to watch. Even at practice on the one-on-ones between the O and the D linemen, the O linemen have been getting have not been doing very well in them. So again, easy for me to say from the high tower.
And the thing is with the O line, let's say when Chad Kelly comes back, you want to protect him as much as possible. And I tell the fans this too. You got to remember, Chad Kelly hasn't played since the beginning of November. We're talking 9 months. You can't expect someone coming off a broken leg who hasn't played 9 months just to automatically his first game back. Even Ryan Dinwiddie would tell you this, Nick, and the fans. You can't expect him to come back his first game and throw for 300-400 yards and rush for a few touchdowns. It's going to take him at least 2 or 3 games, in my opinion, coming off a broken leg to get back to his MVP level.
Yeah, I'm not even really too worried about I'm not worried about the arm because I've seen him practice. The arm's fine. He can throw dimes like he was doing all last year. It's the footwork, given that, with you have a chunk of metal put in your leg, like it is going to feel different as you've rehabbed it. So and then psychologically, how does he respond going back in with players running around him? Where, is he going to, if they're in a situation where he would normally scramble like he did in the play that broke it, is there any hesitancy of doing that? I don't think there will be because I think he's the kind of guy who will do everything he can for every yard. He seems to be that kind of quarterback when he plays. But there is that little bit of between the ears, that kind of psychological factor and this is stuff like sports psychologists, team quarterbacks coach, the doctors, like all of that are all involved in that. That's as big a part as just having the surgery and taking x-rays of the leg. Like that's a huge part of it. So we'll see how it turns out, but it's going to at least be another week as we see.
I want to give a couple of shout outs to Latoya, who's the dance coordinator, manager of the Toronto Argonauts A team. They do a really good job entertaining the fans at BMO Field, but also engaging the fans as well. So a shout out to Latoya and the A team, and a shout out to the Toronto Argonauts new season ticket holder rep, Jada Christian, I think's her name. We had the pleasure of meeting her at BMO Field, and Jada, thank you for the beer as well. Me and Nick appreciated that.
Yeah, the tickets were nice. It was nice to meet you, Jada. Hopefully, you're listening to us this week. Treat your season ticket reps nice, people. You get well rewarded for it. So I guess now, before the game gets started, we've got about half an hour before Edmonton Winnipeg kickoff. Let's get into our picks for this week.
Yeah, CFL Week 4 picks. We got Edmonton, Winnipeg tonight at 8:30 on TSN. Montreal and Hamilton on Friday Night Football at 7:30. Saturday, we have BC and Saskatchewan, I believe, at 7. And then I think this is the first Sunday CFL game of the year, the Toronto Argonauts and Ottawa on my birthday. So hopefully the Argos will come out with a win. Nick, do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
Sure. Edmonton at Winnipeg in 30 minutes. I've got Winnipeg winning until Edmonton starts winning games and proving that they can do it. I hate to say it, but I'm going to still keep picking against them. So Winnipeg in that series. Montreal, Hamilton. Love my boy McLeod Bethel Thompson. I don't care who says he's the worst quarterback. I love MBT. They're going to win in Hamilton on Friday night. BC and Saskatchewan. This is a really tricky one. For some context, it's going to be a battle between Jake Meyer for Saskatchewan and Jeremiah. I think Jeremiah Masoli for BC. Nathan Rourke might be back and ready to play for BC, but Trevor Harris was spotted on his way on a flight out with concussion symptoms. So my guess is he's probably flying to Toronto because that's where Zach Caleros went when he had his injury. Although I'm just speculating, so I don't know 100%, but I don't expect Trevor Harris to play. But I'm still going to take Saskatchewan over BC in Saskatchewan, and then the big one, like I've said, it's not must win, but it's very important. And I think the message got through in practice. So Toronto's either going to win or they're going to get crushed. If it's a close game, Toronto is going to win. But the way the mentality is at practice, I can't see them playing poorly in this game. So I'm going to take Toronto over Ottawa.
Okay, for me, Edmonton and Winnipeg, no brainer. Winnipeg, Montreal and Hamilton, going with an upset. I think the Cats get their first win under Bo Levi Mitchell. Saturday, BC at Saskatchewan. I'm going to go with the Rough Riders. I really like this Rough Riders team and the way they're playing under Corey Mace. And then Sunday, Toronto, Ottawa. I think that's a toss-up. I'm going to go with the Argos this time. I'm going to pick the Argos to win 23-20 on a last-second Liam field goal to win the game for the Argos. So 23-20, and I predict the Argos defense will make a big play with a turnover, which will lead to the winning field goal by number 7.
Maybe when the games are this lopsided as the Edmonton Winnipeg game, the betting line right now was Winnipeg by 10.5 points. Almost wonder if maybe we should with long shots like that, if we should bet the over under. Do you think Edmonton will be within 10.5, or do you think they'll lose by 11 or more?
I think they're going to lose by 11 or more. To me, they're the biggest disappointments. Like, obviously, the Argos, the Cats, but I think Edmonton, because I really thought Edmonton was going to be improved this year. So I really think Winnipeg's going to blow them out by more than 11 points tonight.
Yeah, the way the garbage yards have been for Edmonton, I think I could actually see Edmonton get within 10. So we'll take opposite bets on that. I'll take the Edmonton to cover. By the way, don't use our opinions as betting. Like, everything's just an educated guess. There's no guarantees in sports betting. Save your hard-earned money. Don't waste it on this. Or do it between friends for a beer or something. Don't do anything crazy like.
And before we wrap up this show, if you're a business and you're looking to advertise and you're a business that likes the Toronto Argonauts, why don't you advertise on the Argo Bounce Podcast show? Nick Small and myself, we are a weekly show that are devoted to the Toronto Argonauts, and we do talk about the CFL news as well. If you're interested in coming aboard the Argo Bounce Podcast show, which is a weekly independent show about the Toronto Argonauts, contact Nick Small, or you can email me at cpomay19@gmail.com. Nick and I would love to get a sponsor or two for the Argo Bounce podcast show, and I think our audience has grown the last couple years as well. Nick, before we wrap this up, where can my audience follow you on social media and your YouTube channel? And tell us about leaving for Ottawa tomorrow.
Yep, as always, you can follow me either on X is the best way to follow me. That's where I'm most active. Nick_small_38. I'm also on Instagram, but I tend to not check it as much. Replace the underscores with periods. I don't know why they don't like underscores, but whatever. And then I have a YouTube channel under the same name as my X account, Nick_small38. So you can give that a follow. I don't have much content up there yet. When we're on the train ride up, I'm hoping to have an article finally done where I'm covering JTL's the Argo Bounce. So I'll have that published pretty soon, and maybe probably won't be able to do it on the train or at the hotel, but maybe next week provide some more video content. I want to try to lean into doing those things. I think I might even start titling it the bonus bounce as some little extra content that's in addition to the Argo Bounce podcast show that we usually do. So if I can share any interest of the CFL history of football with anybody else, that's what I want to do for a career, become a historian. So if anybody's interested in listening, I will gladly share it.
All right, Nick, and what are you looking forward to Ottawa the most? What food at the stadium are you looking to have?
Yeah, I honestly have no idea what they got in Ottawa. I will find any weird concoction, four-layered burger burrito thing. I will not eat one of those red black log cookies that they cut when they score a touchdown. That's a little bit too hard and tough for me to eat. But anything else I'm about ready to dig into there. Other things. So it is Canada Day weekend, so there are a lot of promotions going on within Ottawa and within Toronto. So, make it out to your local museums. Canadian War Museum is a personal favorite of mine in Ottawa. I'll definitely be going there sometime during the trip. Air and Space Museum, Natural History Museum, the Canadian Museum of History is in Gatineau across the river. You got all the Parliament buildings. It's going to be busy there. So there's all kinds of things to see and do, especially at museums in Ottawa. You just got to know where to look.
And it is going to be Canada Day too, Tuesday, July 1st. So everyone that's watching the show live stream or on audio, happy Canada Day. And if you love football, check out the Canadian Football League. And before we wrap up this show, Nick, I'm just going to quick thoughts on Luke Wilson calling the CFL Hawk garbage. Luke never played in the CFL. He's probably never watched much of it. And I think he's totally wrong. And I tweeted him saying, I've seen a lot of bad NFL games. I even left one NFL game at halftime before because it's so bad. It's just funny how in the NFL, there's a bad NFL game. Oh, that's okay. But in the CFL, if there's a game where there's a lot of penalties, a lot of mistakes, miscues, which happens, the CFL gets criticized. So to me, I think Luke. I don't know. I don't know him personally, but to call the CFL Hawk garbage when he's only been covering the league for a couple of games, I think is a mistake. And I love the CFL, and you can love the NFL, the CFL, and penalties and miscues happen in the NFL too. And I've seen some Super Bowls that were stinkers as well. So that's just my thought on Luke Wilson, his comments on the CFL being hot garbage regarding the Toronto Saskatchewan game.
Yeah, so I will admit I've been avoiding covering the issue. If anybody who follows me notices that. Yeah. What did I have in here? Yeah, so there's a reason why I had him blocked a year and a half ago because of comments he made on Overdrive way back when. What really annoys me is you're calling out other people on social media or whatever for opinions you disagree with, whether or not they're genuinely dumb takes, whether or not like it is kind of subjective and you just disagree with it. It's really easy to criticize something. It's really difficult to offer solutions because so far the only solution I've seen is a vague hint of make it more like the NFL, but how exactly? One thing I'd like to point out, the final 3 minutes of that game took like 5 minutes with stoppages. It didn't take half an hour like some NFL games.
Or an hour.
You're talking about youth and kids wanting to experience the game. They really have the attention span to sit through an entire game without paying attention. It makes it even worse if you try to drag it out even longer. So I'd like to see more of actual proposing solutions or things to make it better. Things like just broad things like get rid of the rouge or have more stoppages during the 3 minute warning or make the kickoff static like they are in the NFL. I don't think those things are the things you really need to tackle to draw more attention to the game. That being said, it is a point of discussion that there are 4 CFL games a week. There's not 15. And there's still challenges in drawing attendance, and we can go on about various reasons why lost generation of fans with the media blackouts, number of other ones I have listed, but yeah, we're trying to work through ways for solutions, but I still don't think the on the field product is necessarily the reasons that are hurting the attendance because it was an exciting ending. I don't know.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was.
So that's just my take on it.
And George Brown, who's watching from Missouri, says, "Don't forget the UFL. And to be honest, George, next year when it starts up, I'm going to try to watch more and follow it as well. And football is football. You're going to have your great games. You're going to have games with miscues. And that game against Saskatchewan, obviously there was a lot of miscues and mistakes, but the ending of that game was crazy with the Argos touchdown, making it 32-30. And then I think it was Coxie had that great catch for the 2-point conversion. 32-all. The fans are going crazy with 23 seconds, and everyone's like, okay, we're going to have some overtime. And then Mario Alford, who's an Argo killer, returns a kick 99 yards, and Saskatchewan wins that game. And the Argos did get a good kickoff return on the end of it too, but they just fell a little bit short. And that's what I love about the CFL. You're never really out of a game until the clock hits zero.
Yeah, with the USFL specifically, and I think that's a good comparison because they have more Americanized rules than we do here in Canada, and their attendance problems are even worse. So
Yep.
I do think there is more that leans to the marketing side of things, and like it's really hard to compete with the NFL because it's just an absolute juggernaut in it, and then like and even college football, like the CFL is or sorry, the U Sports isn't anywhere in the same stratosphere as college football down in the States either. So yeah, it's a thing that this isn't a new argument. This is a thing we've had for the last 80 years. It's I don't think it's going to change overnight or anything. And I don't think like I've seen some really ridiculous ones where like make the CAFL team like have an NFL affiliate and have it be like a farm system, kind of like the AHL, like I don't or minor league like baseball, but it doesn't it's never going to work. Football's a different thing. But I don't think necessarily changing the on the field product is what needs to be done at this point to draw more fans in.
All right,
And
Nick.
yeah.
I was going to say, Nick, say we're going to wrap up episode 3. We have football tonight, guys. Thursday night football, 8:30. The Edmonton Elks and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers on TSN. And I expect Winnipeg to handle the Elks tonight. But it would be nice to see the Elks be at least competitive. And who knows, maybe they can pull up an upset. We'll see. But we got a lot of football on this week. Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday with the Argos in Ottawa on my 53rd birthday. So I expect our Argos win and take some pictures and videos from the game, Nick, and safe travels out to Ottawa.
Yep. Happy birthday, Chris. Happy birthday, Adam. Happy birthday, Richard. Happy birthday to all you guys and anybody else who I may have missed. Enjoy the game tonight and enjoy a super fun Canada Day weekend of Canadian football. And as always, go Argos.
Go Argos and happy Canada Day. Nick, we'll talk to you soon. Safe travels. All right, guys, that concludes Season 4, Episode 3 of the Argo Bounce Podcast, a weekly independent talk show devoted to the CFL's 19-time Grey Cup champion Toronto Argonauts and some news from around the Canadian Football League as well. Our next show will be next week. To be announced. Nick and I, we don't really have a set day and time for this show, but we will be doing a show next week, and hopefully we'll be able to talk about an Argos win over Ottawa and preview their upcoming game on Friday, July 4th at 7:30 between the QE rivals, the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and the Toronto Argonauts as well. That is about it, guys. And before we wrap up this show, the next live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, sponsored by BarryCollin.com, Friday, June 27th at 11 o'clock Eastern, with special guest Amy Brown, a stand-up comedian out of Atlanta, Georgia, and she just released her new comedy special called Indoor Wife, which is available on her YouTube channel. So go to YouTube, hit Amy Brown Comedy, hit the subscribe and like notification, and you can check her comedy special called Indoor Wife. So Amy Brown will be my guest tomorrow at 11 o'clock on Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, and the Argo Bounce Podcast Show will return next week, a day and time to be announced, and who knows, maybe a mystery guest as well. And again, if anyone out there who has a business that would like to advertise on the Argo Bounce Podcast show, you can email me directly at cpomay19@gmail.com. And as always, go Argos and enjoy the Canadian Football League games this weekend. And to everyone in Canada, a happy Canada Day on Tuesday, July 1st. Thank you to everyone for watching this show live stream and on our audio platforms. And thank you to Robbie Schneider, Richard Chong, Ken, Rick, and George Brown from outside of St. Louis for watching this show tonight. And we'll see you back here next week for another edition of the Argo Bounce Podcast show with Nick Small and Chris Pomay. Have a good night, guys, and enjoy the Canadian Football League games this weekend.
Go, Toronto Argos, go, go, go. Pull together, fight the foe, foe, foe. Scoring touchdowns for the blue on blue. The Argos will win for you. Full of fight and courage, you can't stop. They pile up the points until they reach the top. Pull together till the Grey Cups won. Go Argos, go, go, go. Go, Toronto Argos, go, go, go. Pull together, fight the foe, foe, foe. Scoring touchdowns for the blue on blue. The Argos will win for you. Full of fight and courage, you can't stop. They pile up the points until they reach the